Beautiful people, today I want to talk to you about what is one of the main causes for mental illness in modern society today. Well, one of the main causes, and this is where, let's say, pioneers in the realm of psychology and psychotherapy were actually pretty accurate. But except for a few like Carl Gustav Jung, let's say, what they observed to them was not really as clear. Now, when it comes to mental illness, in a sense, we're dealing with ambivalence. We're dealing with forces that want to go in opposite directions. So, as such, a human being might experience to be paralyzed, unable to make choices, unable to see meaning, unable to, in a sense, express its own life force. Now, the reason for this is that when we get born, we go through the education and conditioning process, which is a form of social engineering. Now, in our modern societies, what is emphasized a lot is rational thinking, analytical thinking. But this like overemphasizing of rational thought leads to a habit of, in a sense, creating noise in the mind. This constant mind chatter, there is programs running that judge and evaluate your day-to-day situations, and they seem to never really stop. If you would know that they would just be habitual, you could change that habit, but for most, they do not have the tools or do not remember how it was to not be trapped in this constant mind chatter. Now, the thing about this mind chatter is that we start identifying with it. We create identity based on it. And this is what many psychologists call the ego. This is the conceptual self. But the issue with the conceptual self is that it is an abstraction. It is simply a thought form. While in truth, the deeper self that as a child you still were quite aware of is accessible to us via intuition. Now, most education that we experience nowadays does not emphasize developing intuition, quite the opposite. Rational mind, a rational, alert, discriminatory mind is something that gets prioritized in everything that we do, being it in science, being it on most of the jobs that are, let's say, currently available in society. So as such, we are constantly being fed thought forms. Yeah, this also happens through media, internet, smartphones. You constantly get input. It's a little bit like sitting at a lake and people constantly throw things in the lake. The water is never going to calm down. Yeah, there are always going to be waves. There are always going to be chaos as long as you start, let's say, keep stimulating the water by giving it input. Now, in order to get to know yourself, the water needs to be still. And when it is still, you can see your reflection. That means you can get in touch with the deeper self, with your intuitive self. Now, the intuitive self comes from soul intelligence. Most of us are not aware of this because we have been fed a materialistic reductionist story that says you are a brain in a body. If you have never had any other experience, and of course, after birth you have amnesia about who you truly are, so then you believe the conditioning. You draw identity from the belief systems around you, and if the belief system is a materialistic one or a capitalistic one, for example, it doesn't matter. Any form of ism, any form of ideology, any conceptual-based system is just a tool, but it can never represent reality directly. And that means any concept that you have about yourself can also never truly represent who you are on the deepest level. Now, in order to get to deeper layers of you, in order to be healthy in this world, to express yourself authentically, it is very important to learn to detach yourself from the program in the mind, to still the lake, if you will, So the intuition becomes available, because often what I see in psychotherapy is the following thing. People have been programmed so much that they have lost touch with who they are on the very basic core level. There are so many thoughts going on, there's so much noise that they do not experience themselves directly anymore. That means the intuition is covered up, but the intuition is soul intelligence. And through the intuition, you get information from your deeper self that shows you where to go, what your journey is, what is meaningful to you. But since many of us have been trained to completely ignore this or never really develop it, because the software has overwritten it, if you will, even though it's still there, it's hard to perceive. So then we feel an energy within ourselves, a deep intelligence, a soul force that wants to go in a certain direction. Now, your social programming, your ego says no to that. So you experience ambivalence. But the energy is there. It wants to get out. It wants to express itself creatively. But the ego is limiting it. So what happens is we develop neurosis. So that means the energy that is trapped within the system, the deeper intelligence, the soul force, tries to get out. But since you're not listening, it has to create illness. So it creates mental illness, physical illness, to make you aware that there is a change that needs to occur for you to let your life force flow, to trust it, to let it guide you, because there's an inner compass and inner guidance system. But if you're unwilling to perceive it, you've split yourself in two. That means your ego wants to go one direction and the deeper self wants to go another direction. So then they stand in conflict to each other. Since the soul cannot make itself heard to you, you cannot perceive it because the programming is so strong. It needs to cause crisis, and this is exactly what it does. Now, when you are in a crisis, there is no need for despair, because this means your deeper self currently has an opening to emerge. And then beginning meditation is crucial. Contemplate about that. Be well.